Welcome to the 3 to Play Games podcast. Each week we get together to talk and argue about all things video games. No matter how salty our debates get, we're always eager to discuss gaming culture, and we hope that you'll join in on the fun. Press start. Joining me on the microphone today is
Tom
Josh
and Challenger approaching.
Oh, hey, that's me. I'm Andrew.
What tier are you?
What was that?
What tier are you?
Tier.
Are you S tier? Are you Diddy? Are you Zero Suit Samus? What am I working with here?
Solid Snake. There you go.
Oh, you're Brawl. Okay, never mind. Nothing to worry about.
the forgotten son of all the Smash Brothers.
The most important.
Oh, we're starting the fights off early, huh? What's up, everybody?
Yeah, welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
So, joining us today, like Andrew said, is Andrew. So, hi.
Hello.
So, once again, some housekeeping. We are still without our third member right now, Mr. Brian. So we have had Becca to fill in the past couple of weeks. We have Andrew filling in this week here, which is, man, is this a doozy of an episode. So strap your boots in because we're gonna go for a ride.
Oh, I'm strapped.
Why don't we put Andrew on the spot and make him tell us something about himself to get the viewers up on him?
Okay, I'm fine with that. Yep, as you know, I'm Andrew. I guess I love Monster Hunter. There you go. That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
All right, I'm going. Bye.
So usually we start, Andrew. So usually we start every episode off by "What are you playing this week?"
Oh, Monster Hunter.
I figured I knew where you were going with that one.
Yeah, Monster Hunter.
How many hours do you have in on it?
Dude, I haven't even looked. I don't even know if I think I broke the counter. I don't know if that's possible, but I think I did. No, I probably have like 90 hours. That's it.
Okay.
Pleb stuff.
What level? I'm sorry, hunter rank.
I'm not even high. I'm like 50-ish. I just kill things. I don't pay attention.
I've played a little bit of it. About 12, 13 hours worth of time in it. I was only like hunter rank 6. I don't know. I got bored of it really fast.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm a monster rancher loyalist personally, so we have to have a different kind of conversation.
It's the same difference, Tom.
I haven't seen one of those since what was it? PlayStation 1?
It's different, Josh, because they talk back to you. You don't just kill them.
Like the Digimons.
There's guilt involved.
So, Tom, what have you been playing this time away?
I recently started playing the indie game A Night in the Woods because it finally came to Switch. And I'm so in love with this game purely on the fact that it's clearly set in Pennsylvania. It's like not even, I have to like look up more info on the developer to figure out if they have any real ties to the area. It's basically this little kind of mystery type game where you play as an anthropomorphic cat who comes home from college back to their hometown, which is a dying former industry town, and she's visiting all of her friends who are kind of like stuck there. And like you guys being from the area would know, like there's literally a store that's Turkey Hill. There's stands that sell pierogies and halushki and all kinds of like Central PA like stuff. I'm playing it. I'm just like, oh, this is Northumberland County, the game. How did this happen? Who developed this? But it's really charming and it's really intriguing. I love exploring it, and I'm looking forward to playing more.
Nice. How many hours did you say you're into it?
Like probably 2.
Okay.
But like I said, it's quirky, it's charming, but it's got like this dark side to it. There's like a murder mystery under the whole thing, so really, really worthwhile. I'd say pick it up.
Interesting. I always hear good things about it. Everyone says that it's one of the better indie titles that are out there in the market right now. But
How about you, Josh?
oh man, I've had a really rough couple weeks when it comes to gaming.
Do tell.
So I purchased PlayStation VR a couple weeks ago, and well, it did not go well. I got about 5-ish minutes into it and discovered that I have a severe case of motion sickness when playing it. So that's great. The doctors don't know if I have motion sickness or vertigo because I had headphones on, and that's even better. The fact that doctors don't know much about VR motion sickness yet because it's still new to the field, that's even better. So that's what I've been dealing with when it comes to personal life in gaming.
You're literally a guinea pig for science.
At that point, yeah.
Yeah. From what I played of VR, though, it was very interesting. It was very... I felt like... I understand why people like it and how it's going to evolve. I think it's just so new that they don't have all of the bugs worked out yet for everybody. And that's probably why I had such a crazy side effect to it. Like I mentioned earlier, I played a bunch of Monster Hunter, about 12 hours of that. It's not my cup of tea, but I sank 12 hours into it somehow, so that's great. But the game that I've been playing so much, and I cannot recommend it more to anyone, is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Fantastic game so far. I'm about 3 hours into it. I'd probably say about a third of the way into the game right now. If it's ever, if you see it on the marketplace and you have a spare $20-$30, if it's on sale or whatnot, definitely pick it up because it is an absolute fantastic game. It focuses on mental health in a gaming aspect, which is really cool. It's like your character is kind of going nuts where she has voices constantly in her head, and if you're wearing headphones, like they're constantly whispering in your ear, and it just engulfs you into this atmosphere of this ancient Nordic like world where like they're talking about like Loki and Hela and all of these old gods and how you have to go and destroy them in order to bring back your loved one who you're carrying his head around. But like it's just so crazy. But like the voices that are in your ears are constantly like commenting on everything that you're doing. So it's like, why is she going this way? Why is she going that way? Don't do this. He's going to attack you. Don't do that. Like, it's just so crazy that the sound design to that game is probably the best I've ever heard in a game in a long time. So yeah.
This will be a deep cut throwback for the podcast, but I once ridiculed you for not being able to play 3D games. I was like, what, were you born in the second dimension? I now want to apologize and say I will never make fun of you for not being able to handle 3 dimensions ever again because I didn't know it would literally hospitalize you. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, we all know the N64 sucks anyway.
Oh, you want to talk about sucky consoles? Hey, Josh, let's talk about sucky consoles.
Great segue, Tom. So this week's topic for the podcast is, which console would you argue is the least worth playing?
The most skippable.
A console whose entire library and features are so underwhelming that you don't need to worry about experiencing it.
In other words, I don't have other words. You summed it up. It's perfect.
Tom, you're the one that came up with this topic when we were talking about the podcast. So I want you to go first. I want you to tell me what console you think is the least worth playing.
All right. I think the least valuable video game console that's ever been made, most skippable in hindsight, is the original Xbox. Released in 2001, kind of fell off in 2005 when the Xbox 360 debuted. I think it has the least significant amount of exclusive / first party playable titles that need to be experienced. It's a clunky, easily overheated mess. It's an ugly looking console. It's a design nightmare wherein their first controller was absolute garbage and they had to relaunch it with a more logical controller. And even then, that controller has a ton of design problems, i.e. the white and black buttons and their placement. And it's just not great. Not great. It's an eyesore of a console, and there's just not that many games on it exclusive to that console that I feel like justify buying it then or buying it now, unless you want like a 30-pound thing on your shelf, collecting dust around its ugly green gems. It's bad. It's a bad console.
So let me talk about this for a second. So you talk about there's not that many first party games or anything. Now, are we talking about going back now, or are we talking about at the time that it was released?
I mean, just either.
Okay.
Like
because it gave birth to Halo, which
Halo's only all right. Halo is only all right.
It revolutionized online multiplayer. Xbox Live was created.
Xbox revolutionized making you pay for online multiplayer. That's another dig against it. Xbox brought us Xbox Live, which, while it may be good, I think it's kind of poopy that it drove us in the direction of having to pay for online maybe earlier than the gaming industry would have done.
But there's so many great titles that came out for that system.
Okay,
so,
name me one that's not Halo.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay, they're RPGs, and you know my history with RPGs, and even though it's Star Wars, and I'm by default inclined to like things that are Star Wars, I cannot fully give it a pass. It's a great game, but okay, you named two. That console was out for 4.5 years.
Republic Commando, Jade Empire, Advent.
What's Jade
Rising?
Empire?
It's
Jade Empire. Come on, Kung Fu baby.
What? Oh, I don't know what Jade Empire is. Next.
Project Gotham Racing.
Okay, I'm going to say this. When I was looking up, I was going through, I was like, okay, I got to see how many console-exclusive games there were so I can make sure I'm making a fair argument. Do you know how many console-exclusive games on the Xbox were just racing games? Project Gotham Racing, Sega GT, or I guess the early installments of Forza or whatever. That console had nothing but exclusive racing games for some odd reason. And I'm not trying to poop on the racing game genre as a whole, but I don't know. It's that's the only kind of market that the Xbox could secure for some reason. I mean,
Fusion Frenzy, Psychonauts,
Steel Battalion.
Steel Battalion, and its $900 controller. Yes,
I had that controller too.
I will say. Think about it. Splinter Cell was an Xbox exclusive game when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't have had.
It's a poor man's Metal Gear Solid.
Okay. The best version of Conquer came out.
Oh,
no,
yes.
that's not true. Conquer Live and Reloaded is actually garbage that ruins the game. So
I know.
it's the Conquer Live and Reloaded is the Star Wars Special Edition of gaming remasters.
It did have Amp Snowboarding, which was an awesome game.
SSX Tricky is the best snowboarding game of all time. Let's be clear on that.
I like 1080. Not.
Are you Borat? Do you like it or do you not like it?
No, I didn't like it. I didn't like 1080. No, I loved Amp. I thought it was the best snowboarding game, but we all have our opinions, and yours just happens to be not a good one.
Well, you're pushing back on the software library, which I'll still argue is not that distinct. But my points about its design and its interface, are you going to argue any of those points?
So
it's an ugly console.
But you talk about the interface. Let's talk about the interface, though. You go in there, actually be able to drop your CDs into the system and be able to download your songs onto your Xbox so you can use them as soundtracks inside games, like in WWF Raw, when you can actually use your own music as entrance music.
Two of the worst licensed WWE games that have ever existed.
Still was an awesome feature, and they were, I thought, great games. Well, the first one was a great game. The second one, not so much.
Oh.
But when you're playing Madden, you play... NFL Fever, which was by far a billion times better than any Madden game out there. When you can actually utilize your own songs as the soundtrack for the game, something that you couldn't do in any previous generation of game consoles.
I had a Walkman. I didn't need it. Turn my PS2 on, throw my mixed CD, my burnt CDs into my Walkman, and just did that That's all. I was good.
It released one of the best RPGs ever in Elder Scrolls Morrowind.
Yep.
Was that Xbox exclusive? That wasn't also on PC?
Well, I mean, most of these games did come out on PC, so that's where
well,
things
then-
get a little great, because a lot of these games came out on PC, or they all came out later down the road, revamped, redone, so on and so on.
Well, that's what I mean. There's no point in going back to revisit it if you can play a better version of it somewhere else.
See,
Defend the controller layout. Please defend the controller layout, because
so I will give you that I was never a fan of the Duke. Never a fan of the Duke.
Okay.
When they revamped it, though, and made the controller smaller and much more easily usable, the controller was fantastic. And it gave birth to the Xbox 360 controller, which is one of the greatest controllers of all time. The most user-friendly controller.
So the white and black buttons, which are the precursors to the bumpers that are so prominent in gaming controllers, them being so high on the right-handed side is still, I think, a major design flaw, because reaching your thumb up that far it's just not comfortable even on the smaller control space. And given what typically important things are mapped to them, especially if you're playing shooters, they're usually your primary or secondary weapon switch outs, things like that. It wasn't great. Like, even when they made it smaller and easier to hold, but they didn't address the fact that the button layout was sloppy.
When it comes to the white and black button, it's a part of the controller. I can't really argue too much of, oh, well, I didn't make it. You know what I mean? The system weighing 400 pounds, yeah, that was a big issue. But didn't it have a DVD player built inside of it, and that's why it was so bulky?
No, the PS2 had a DVD player inside of it, and
And look at how bulky that was when that came out.
It didn't weigh as much as an obese child. I mean, come on, like even the PS2 Slim was like what, 2 pounds less than that,
Yeah.
and it was the size of a DVD case.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on the Xbox original?
Well, like when it comes to Xbox original, there's a lot of nostalgia for that for me. Like I wouldn't go back to it if I had a chance to. I wouldn't rebuy it and replay those games, because you have Combat Evolution that now you can get the revamped version of it.
Can I just add, though, most of these games are actually backwards compatible right now on the Xbox One. So
Yeah.
so
yeah, that's why I have to lean on the other side and say, why would I play on the that console itself? Like I said, it was the games that I played on that game, or on that system. Yes, were Call of Duty. Oh my God, not Call of Duty. Counter-Strike. Sorry, Counter-Strike. I played Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2, and Halo. Those are pretty much the three main games. Also Morrowind. I played a lot of frickin' Morrowind. But when it comes to like the system itself, I did love the soundtrack thing. I had all my CDs. Yes, I also had a Walkman, and I could play the Walkman. But when I'm playing like Counter-Strike with my friends, I don't, can't really share a Walkman with them. I can just put it on the big screen and be like, all right, let's listen to System of a Down right now. Let's do this, and just start playing Counter-Strike.
Right.
And that's one of the big pluses for me in that one. The interface, it was okay. I didn't mind it. I loved the green. Just you're like, oh man, I'm in the system. Let's do it. Let's start hacking or something.
Do you know why it was green? Do you know why everything in Xbox is green?
Because they saw the Matrix before they designed it.
No, when the guy was creating, like when they were doing like all the test stuff for like all the sketches and artwork and stuff like that, the only marker that he had was green, so he colored all like the circle in the middle green and stuff like that, and they were like, we love it. So the black and green, like the Degeneration X.
I like
Too lazy to go to the supply closet.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't go back to it, because like I said, your Xbox One can play those same games, and there's no need for me to go searching high and low for it. But that's my take on that one.
So Tom, you don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I'm not saying I like the controls, but I'm also the kind of guy who came from the PSP era, playing with the claw hand on Monster Hunter. I was okay with controllers at that point. It didn't matter what was going on or what the controls layout was. It's just it didn't matter to me.
Right. Andrew, what system do you think is least worth playing?
I don't know if ET sounds familiar, but that console,
Okay.
yeah, yep. I didn't like Atari. We had it we've had it before, and I didn't like it. Instead of jumping on the Atari, at the time we had the NES as well, and I'd rather play that. And it's just
Okay.
and to this point, I just never wanted to touch it. Even when they Atari, I just didn't like it at all. Like it just was. It looked ugly. I didn't like it. As a kid, I was like, oh my god, what is that?
So just the games in general, you didn't
The
like.
the games,
you didn't
yeah.
appreciate the graphics.
I mean, did you see ET?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, I mean,
E.T. gave Josh motion sickness.
no, I mean, it's not just the games. It's just the look of it. It's at the time I was still young when I was able to play. I don't have it now, reason being, but at the time I would rather play the NES, and even to this point, I still wouldn't even go back to the Atari just in general. It's just I didn't find any fun out of it. It just didn't seem interesting to me. Pong, cool,
Can I be a nerd here for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Which iteration of the Atari did E.T. come out on? I believe it might have been the 2600.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
2600.
I think my cousins had a 2600, and so I put a good deal of playtime into that anytime I was over there. I'm not gonna say you're wrong.
You can say it's fine.
No, because like I'm not like jumping to get like oh man, I hope this used game store I have has a 2600 I can drop some money on, and hope I have a TV that still has composite hookups. I'm sorry, yeah, composite, not
Yeah.
composite component. Yeah,
It
I do
was
this for
coax. It was coax. It was a coax.
No,
hookup.
coax is cable.
Yeah.
Coax is yeah.
Yep.
Oh wait, the 2600 was cable.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Well,
Dang.
another. Okay, I guess you should just skip it. You can't take up that jack.
Yeah,
I mean, come on,
yeah.
that's so inconvenient. No. The only games I really can remember from that, like besides the joking ET, which I didn't actually ever play, but Pitfall is fun.
Yes. Pitfall's great.
Quest, whatever the one is where you're like the duck guy running around.
No.
castle.
What the duck guy was? You're talking about Adventure.
Adventure.
Yeah. The duck guy was a dragon.
Graphics.
You were like a little cube, and you walked around, and you had to get keys to unlock the doors inside there.
Beautiful.
That's right. Okay.
One of the best games I think for the Atari is River Raid. It was the precursor to all those games like the Darius flight games, the one where it's the top down, and you're over top your ship and you're shooting at all the enemies that are coming down.
Oh, okay.
So like Galaga and so on.
Okay.
Yep. I understand where you're coming from, Andrew. It's really hard to say that that's the least worth playing because it's like the original video game console.
Right.
But if you grew up with it compared to the NES at the same time, it's like, okay, I can kind of see what you're talking about there.
Right, and
But-
that it still goes back to a lot of people like with nostalgia. Like a lot of it is still with nostalgia. Like it is like 100%. You can look at it and be like, oh my god, I threw thousands of hours when I was a kid. I had nothing more to worry about.
Yeah, and the big thing even to look at with those is those games are still coming out today, where they just released the Atari anthologies on the Xbox One and the PS4. So like those games are still getting made and putting on newer consoles because like those games have aged like, well, they're like timeless.
Right, and that's 100% understandable. Doesn't mean I liked it though.
No, I understand. But you can be wrong too.
Oh, so okay. I was about to say you understand him, but I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, he could be wrong too. He knows what he's.
Man.
Being nice
knows
to
what
the
he said
guest,
wrong.
being nice to the guest hosts.
No.
This is why CM Punk left WWE. Josh, what do you think is the least necessary console?
Oh man. So if anybody knows me personally, they know what system I hate the most.
N64, I wonder.
Yes, it is. The Nintendo
that's-
64.
That's not right lie.
Why? Why?
Iconic game library. You're gonna
Worst controller ever made.
All right, look, I'm not gonna die on that hill because I know I'll just die. But
It's inferior to the PlayStation 1.
How?
Game for game, I can tell you a million, not a million, but like 200 reasons why the N64 sucks compared to the PS1.
All right, let's go game for game. Name a PS1 game. I'll name you an N64 game that rivals or tops it.
Metal Gear Solid,
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Final Fantasy VII,
Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Crash Bandicoot 1,
Banjo-Kazooie.
Crash Bandicoot 2,
Super Mario 64.
Crash Bandicoot 3.
Banjo-Tooie.
I'm trying to go through my list. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3.
Resident Evil didn't get good till 4, so, I mean...
Don't you... That is an argument for another episode.
Next.
Silent Hill. Silent Hill.
Did the N64 have spoopy games? I'll just name another game. Pokemon Snap.
Diablo.
What?
Diablo.
That came out on the PC.
It also came out on PS1.
But it wasn't...
Hey, but Super Mario 64 came out on the DS, Tom. Banjo-Kazooie came out on the Xbox, Tom.
Okay, fine. Diablo,
it has
GoldenEye.
the least inferior versions of every
GoldenEye.
game.
GoldenEye.
Fuck GoldenEye. We know that. We know that. That game fucking sucks.
I liked it.
GoldenEye, you had Medal of Honor rivaling GoldenEye.
Perfect Dark. Let's talk something real quick. You want to talk about PS1 versus N64? The PS1 spent its entire lifetime playing catch-up to the innovations that the N64 introduced. Analog stick, N64 had it first. PS2 had to compensate by putting 2 on its controllers to make it look like it wasn't falling. Like, oh, they have 1, we got 2, yeah! Rumble Pack, N64 introduced it first. PlayStation 1's like, yeah, now we got that too. Catch-up. Playing catch-up.
See, with the PlayStation 1, though, you had the better versions of everything. Like I'm saying, Gran Turismo, much better racing game than anything that came out on the N64. And
Diddy Kong Racing.
We know Crash Team Racing, Tom.
Crash Team Racing ripped off Diddy Kong Racing. That's how good it was. They knew it was a good game. They were like, story about a bunch of animals trying to defeat an alien in an adventure-style kart racing game? Yeah, we'll just take that.
Tom, you had Spyro, you had Rayman, you had...
Rayman was on the N64
Mario?
as well. Paper Mario, yep. One of the best RPGs.
It's because you guys didn't have any Final Fantasy games because of the whole split.
Yeah, but
You
we had
lost
Yoshi's
that.
Story.
Super Smash Bros.
Yes,
Yeah, we
yes,
had-
you did.
F-Zero X. I don't know.
Pokemon Stadium.
Turok.
Hey, you Pikachu! Did the PlayStation have any games with a microphone on it? No. The Dreamcast did,
Yes, it did.
but the PlayStation didn't.
But dual analog sticks. I mean,
Compensating.
I could talk about with the Xbox though. The PlayStation 1 games you could play on the PS2, on the PS3. You can download most of those games as well on PSP or Vita or anything like that. It still continues on. It doesn't need, you don't, and if you download one, it's transferable to the next system.
Well,
Just remember that.
okay, so we're talking about games that are only still good in the original context. Fine. Mario 64, which is a good game, and it's not the greatest Mario game, it's not the greatest game of all time or anything, but it's still a very good game. The best way to play that is still on the N64.
See, but that's the thing. We talked about this with the Xbox, and I said, well, these games you can also play on PC. These games you can play here. All of these games you can play on other consoles for the N64. When it comes to Mario 64, the better version of it's on the DS. When it comes to...
Oh, no, it's not. Mario 64 DS is not an adequate way to play that with the directional pad.
When it comes to Mario Kart, the better version right now is on the Switch. When it comes to Smash Brothers, the better version's on the Wii U. When it comes to all of these games, there's better versions of it that I don't need to ever go back to the N64.
Well, no, we're not talking about better versions. We're saying, did these consoles have games that were good enough to say, yeah, you need to buy that console and play it on it because that's the best way to experience?
No, it's not. They're not worth playing because there's better versions of everything that's out there. There's better... I can go through... I can play the N64 version of Super Smash Brothers on my Wii U if I wanted. Why would I have to boot up an N64?
Shadows of the Empire. That's why.
I mean, you can say the same thing with all the rare games on the N64. You can play that on your Xbox One. So
Exactly.
I could 100% see that. I'd rather get an Xbox One to play all those games in one disc instead of like blowing out my cartridge. And,
There's
you know.
no
Can't play.
reason.
You can't play Diddy Kong Racing on any console except the N64.
There's a
I'm
Diddy Kong Racing that came out for the DS.
It's not good. The best version of it is still.
Doesn't
on
matter. We
good-
still you go back to the PS1 and you got Crash Team Racing. You're
It's-
perfectly fine.
It's the poor man's Diddy Kong Racing.
No, it's not, Tom.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
The N64 has no reason to ever be turned on again. Hey,
Pokemon Stadium. Pokemon Stadium.
That's going to change soon. When you're out in the wild and you see an N64, you have to run over like, oh, does it have the memory pack inside of it? Does it have this? Am I going to be able to make it work? I don't need to worry about that with any other consoles out there.
What do you mean to make it work? Like,
So if you want to play Majora's Mask, you
Okay.
need to have the memory backup.
okay, sure, the expansion pack. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
For
How many other systems do you know that you had to buy an expansion pack to be able to play a game?
but there's only 2 real games in the lifespan of the N64 that
And one of them's your favorite Zelda game.
Majora's Mask and Donkey Kong 64. Oh, there's just 2
Right.
games out of its entire library that mandatorily required it.
Right.
So if I just bought a regular N64, sure, I'm down 2 games, but everything else I named are still there, still playable.
It has the worst iteration of all of those games that's come out. Like, Mario 64 sucks. Mega Man
Nope.
Legends sucks.
No, son. No.
Yes.
No.
When it comes to the Zelda games-
Mega Man Legends is the only version of Mega Man worth playing.
When it comes to the Zelda games, they ruined it, and they didn't even...
They
Tom,
improved it.
Tom.
It.
we all know that Link to the Past is a much better game than Ocarina of Time.
I mean, it's a baby's toy, Josh. It's not that
Tom?
great. It's a baby's toy.
We all know Link to the Past is a better game than Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, several Zelda games are better Zelda games than Ocarina of Time, but Ocarina of Time is a better Zelda game than Link to the Past.
No, don't do this.
I'll do it. Let's give Andrew some mic time. I feel
No,
really bad.
no,
I feel like we're
I'm
pushing him
enjoying
off.
this one because
No,
like,
no,
I'm
no.
biting my tongue right now because I agree. I loved Link to the Past. One, I loved it. Ocarina of Time. Guess what? I never beat it because I hated the Water Temple.
It's an overrated piece of shit.
I mean, the controls were. Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing in Ocarina.
It's aged poorly. It is not the most
No,
essential.
even I don't even care.
Wait. Let's talk about aging poorly though. The N64 in general is a poorly aged console compared to its rival, the PS1. The PS1, I could go back and play all those games and still enjoy it in the graphics that they are. The N64 is a polygoned piece of shit, just jumbled garbage.
You're gonna say that Metal Gear Solid is not a polygon nightmare with all those jagged characters with their flat faces delivering grandiose monologues with just like their only JPEG expression plastered to their face because they can't do anything
If I
else.
wanted to play Metal Gear Solid, I would play Twin Snakes on the GameCube, which is a better system than the N64.
Well, that's not the point we're making.
I know. Exactly, though. You talked about playing Metal Gear Solid. I would rather play it on a different system.
Right. But you're coming after N64 for having ugly graphics at the time.
It's not aged. It's not aged well at all. Back in the day, I would rather play the PS1 rather than the N64. The N64 had like a handful of games that I actually cared about, compared to every other console. And when it comes to like, oh, I could sit down and play a game, I never tell myself I could sit down and play an N64 game right now.
I know. Micro Racers for the N64. That was a good game.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a good game. I mean, I can agree. There's only a handful of games I would play, like Smash Brothers. That's one of the better ones for sure. Maybe Paper Mario, but I already beat it and I have no need to go back to it. I mean, just saying, Micro Racers. That's where it's at.
The console that originated Mario Party, one of the best multiplayer experience games of all time. You're gonna say that's not essential?
Nope. It's one of those things. Like, we can talk about how these consoles have gone ahead and made like gaming better, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to go and play them, be able to see which one is the least worth playing. Like, technically all of them, because there's better versions of all these games out there.
Right. Every argument we're making is moot by the point of HD remasters and crap like that.
Exactly. Yeah. But
what about the current 3 then? Which one would you pick out of the 3? You have the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Which one would you rather?
Which one would I rather?
Yeah.
Are you saying which one is the least valuable?
Which one would you rather buy out of the 3? Like, what? I mean, yeah, I guess which one has the least amount? Like, it would be the topic, but just the 3 big ones that we have in our household right now.
That's the least worth playing. Xbox One.
And I would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's sad because it's just they don't have the first party, so like they don't have a lot of first party titles out there.
Right.
But
see, the only one I don't have is a PS4, and I do want it.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing you want a PS4.
I mean,
Tom, you played a game. You said you played a game for 30 minutes, and you want to spend $300 on a console.
I know. I don't hate my Xbox One, but I understand your argument. It's logically sound that it doesn't have enough bang exclusive to it that I can't get from somewhere else.
Right. The stuff that I have for my Xbox One is all first party stuff. Okay. Sunset Overdrive, Cuphead, Ori and the Blind Forest.
Okay.
Like,
so just if we're just making that the core of our argument, though, going back to mine, I don't think the original Xbox had anything exclusively tied to it that you can't duplicate elsewhere that makes picking it up the worthwhile experience. Just as how Andrew said that there's nothing that you need to play in its original form on the Atari. You know what I mean? And then as you're arguing, and I don't agree with it, but as you're arguing, there's nothing that you need to experience in its original state on the N64. So,
right.
But it's wrong and I hate it and I don't like it. Look, what this really comes down to is just long-standing bitterness over what your parents were willing to buy you as a child. That's just what this comes down to.
Really, well, yeah.
Really.
Can we just get off this? I'd really like to switch topics. I did the thing.
I heard it. So, speaking of switching topics, Nintendo Direct was today.
That it was.
And boy, was it a Direct. We got some great things that came out of this. Like a new WarioWare coming.
300 micro games in one title.
Yeah. For the ADD in all of us.
Have you guys ever tried to play that as a party game?
Yes.
No.
Andrew, what was your experience like trying to do that?
Well, after we finished the first part, like we did our first round, I was kind of over it.
Okay, yeah, but Andrew, if you had 300 micro games, do you think you would have stopped?
Just coming from 1-2 Switch, I played all. There's no.
Whoa! Somebody bought 1-2 Switch?
Yeah, I did. I
What?
did. I am 100% a fanatic towards local party games, except for WarioWare, because I really don't like WarioWare. But but yeah, coming from 1-2 Switch, like it's a fun night. A lot of people don't like it because it's not a gamer's choice. I understand that, but
Because it wasn't free. That's why.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that was. But no, yeah, I wouldn't continue with all WarioWare. I know I have a buddy who loves WarioWare, and I'm pretty sure he would probably buy it. But
he's probably going to eat that up when he sees that got announced.
Probably.
So WarioWare Gold is getting released on the 3DS, which I'm still surprised that they dedicated a portion of this to the 3DS. I'm waiting for the 3DS to kind of just start to phase itself out, and I thought it was going to, but man, it is just hanging on. We got 5 games announced for the 3DS.
And they're pretty big ones. I mean, not just WarioWare, but we have another Mario and Luigi remake.
Yep.
Bowser's Inside Story Plus coming in 2019.
Well, yeah, well, it's Bowser Jr.'s Journey, which is like a side story that's included with it. So that's pretty cool. I didn't care too much about the Dylan's Deadhead Breakers, an action tower defense game.
Nope.
Meh.
Nah, it was like, okay. I don't know who Dylan. The way they marketed it, it was like, is Dylan a major IP I'm supposed to know about?
I don't remember anything that he's been in or where he's from or whatnot.
Yeah, not my cup of tea. But
What else we got?
we got, this is the big one for me, a full blown remake of Luigi's Mansion confirmed for the 3DS.
I was pretty excited when I saw that. I'm a little worried about the analog stick on the 3DS getting broken.
Oh yeah.
Well, did you perchance play Smash Brothers for the 3DS?
I did, yes.
And your analog stick survived?
Yes.
So you're good.
We got a little bit more information on Detective Pikachu, which I think Detective Pikachu is out over in Japan now for like a couple months. Am I wrong with
Oh, it's
that?
been out.
Saying that?
It's been out since last fall, actually.
Yeah, so it's a couple months.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just trying to make you look good. I'm sorry.
But then the main piece of this direct was mostly directed at the Switch.
Yes.
Yep.
And we started pretty strong with Kirby Star Allies, which I have no interest in the game, but then they were like, hey, remember all the characters from the previous Kirby games from like the Game Boy and the Super Nintendo? Like they're coming back in this game. I'm like, that's kind of cool. It's like a nice little nostalgic trip.
Yeah, but there was a degree of where their marketing is like Kirby teams up with people you may not expect, like King Dedede, and it's like you did that in Crystal Shards. Like we already had that game. I mean, I love Kirby, but it was just like, oh, what are you doing? Like I've seen this already.
Yeah. But that comes out March 16th. We got Okami HD, which just came out on the PS4 and the Xbox One, I believe. But it's coming out this summer for the Switch, which is cool. I never played it for the PS2, but...
Okay, so the cool thing I think about Okami is that its gameplay gimmicks are right at home on these kinds of consoles. With touchscreen and motion capability, the methods of using the paintbrush to perform actions or attack enemies, like, yeah, it already came out on the PS4 and the Xbox One, but it's a game whose gimmicks are a little bit more cooked in for more interactive experiences. So being able to use the Joy-Con, which they showed off, would be a possibility, or just the touchscreen. I think that'll make it a little bit more of a fun experience playing it than on the other consoles.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice thing too. So like when you were using when it came out on the Wii, you could use the Wii remotes. Now this time you can use the Joy-Cons to be able to make the movements of the character and stuff. But you can also use the normal controller too, which I thought was cool, or the touchscreen.
Options.
Gosh,
Yes.
all those features.
We got the star of the direct itself in Sushi Striker.
Oh, Sushi Striker, game of the year. Calling it right now. You cook sushi, you throw sushi, you eat sushi.
It reminded me of the Lickitung game
Oh yeah.
from Pokemon.
Yeah, that's a
Stadium.
That's a great N64 exclusive game that you brought up, Josh. Yeah.
That one mini game out of the whole game.
Yeah.
Worth it. You know, I'm just happy that the little girl from the Grubhub commercial is finally going to have a game that she can play. Like, I'm so happy that they finally targeted that market.
Talked a little bit about Octopath Traveler, which I'm so looking forward to.
Yeah, they detailed more character types and how you can combine professions to give your character more options. That looked really cool.
Yeah.
And they dated it, did they not?
I didn't see that part. I didn't know if they dated it or not.
July 13th.
Oh, there you go. So
not too far. Andrew, what do you think about Octopus Traveler?
Okay, when I look at it, I see Josh written all over it. One, it just looks like a Josh game. I just got to say that. Two, I like the 2D and 3D environment. I do. It just reminds me of Paper Mario a good bit. And one, I love Paper Mario. It's pretty good, but I'm interested. I love RPGs. I love being able to do my choice, whatever I want to do with my professions or whoever else. I love the idea. And it's Square Enix. You can't say no.
Square Enix going back to its old school RPG days.
Definitely can't say no. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tom, I think you played a little bit of the next game that they announced, which was No More Heroes 3, or whatever the new title to No More Heroes 3 is.
It's Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. I'm a big fan of the series. I think it's a really fun little satire of gaming in general, a little bit of a ribbing at the expense of nerd culture, stuff like that. Explore some interesting ideas while indulging in some kind of stylistic gaming and anime tropes. But they're bringing the series back in full steam. It's going to have co-op, and it's going to have this gimmick where Travis is going... He's trapped in a video game console, and he is battling his way through several different types of games, including like a racing game, a stealth game, things like that. So it's like, Wreck-It Ralph meets Scott Pilgrim meets Mega 64, and just jacked way up on the edgelord material. But yeah, it looks really fun, and it's coming later this year. They don't have an exact date, but I'm excited for it.
So to do a little bit of a cheap plug here, sounds very similar to Eat Lead, Tom.
You're right, Josh. And where can they learn more about Eat Lead?
Oh, on our other show, 3-to-Play DLC, where we talk about the forgotten games of yesterday, like Eat Lead.
3-to-Play DLC is our much nicer show, where we're much less on the verge of killing each other.
But the next game they announced, Praise the Sun. I'm getting a new amiibo, so I'm a little excited about that. With the Dark Souls Remastered.
So talk to me about this for a bit. I have not ever played a Dark Souls game. So is it a game that I should be picking up on the Switch? Tell me what's cool about that amiibo. I'm interested to see what's the hype about that. Tell me about it. Sell me Dark Souls. Sell me it.
So when it comes to Dark Souls, I absolutely hate the franchise.
Oh.
So I can't sell you on something like this. I'm just excited because I get another amiibo, because my amiibo collection's looking a little light right now.
Because you have a problem.
I don't know. Andrew, have you played much of the Dark Souls games?
Yeah, I mean, I played Dark Souls 3. Actually, excuse me. I played Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, dabbled in 2, and right now I'm in process of playing Dark Souls 3 with a buddy of mine. It's if you like the hardcore aspect of games where it's just like, God dang, man, this thing is freaking hard, and you want to, get the achievement of beating something that you couldn't beat like 20,000 times over, that's on you. I'm one of the, for a Dark Souls series, I'm one of the one and done. I don't need to go back to it. I have no need to. I mean, I know there's a lot of PvP in it, but I care more about the game and what's going on with the lore and all that. But Dark Souls has a lot of lore to it. But for the first one, I would recommend picking it up, try it out if you haven't played one. If it's a remastered, I'm pretty sure they do some added things that would need on the original Dark Souls. But other than that, I mean, there's tons of things to do in it, and there's so many hidden groves in there that there's so much to do. But like I said, it's one of those games where for me it's like a one and done. I'm not like a big, huge fan of it, but
Tom, from what I've played of them, and I've played a little bit of 1 and 2, and I played Bloodborne, which people say it's not like Dark Souls, but it practically is Dark Souls. They're those games that just punish you constantly for not knowing. It's the get good mentality of those games that just, it's not fun when you constantly keep dying over and over and over again because your character is too slow, or this is happening, or this is unfair, or this is... I'm not a person to be able to say, oh yeah, definitely recommend the Dark Souls games because they're fun and enjoyable. No, they're very punishing, and it's not a gaming...
I think the Dark Souls is its own little genre. if you like getting kicked, if you like getting kicked in the crotch, by all means, that's your genre. But if you don't like being kicked in the crotch, I don't. One, but
Yeah,
that's just one of those games.
if you're consider yourself like a super hardcore gamer, maybe if you want to constantly keep giving yourself a challenge, try it. I wouldn't, especially if this comes out. It's probably going to be $60 when it comes out. I don't think it's worth that much because the amount of crap that goes through it. Tom, you had Xbox Live. Didn't you ever download Dark Souls 1 and 2?
No. When I don't even know when it. No, I didn't.
Because they were available on Games for Gold.
Okay.
But
Doesn't do me any good now.
No, but I don't recommend them if it's not a genre of games that you find yourself wanting to play. There's much better games out there that do that better. Like I just said, Hellblade. Hellblade's going to be coming to the Xbox One very soon, so keep your eye out for that if you do want to play it on there. I think it does the Dark Souls games much better and much more enjoyable. But let's quit talking about Dark Souls because it's a game that came out a billion years ago, and let's talk about Mario Tennis.
Mario Tennis.
Boy.
Yay.
Chain Chomp as a character.
Cool. It makes me want to buy it.
Can I ask a question? Are we entirely sure this isn't just that failed Wii U Mario Tennis game that they just took back to the shop to re-release?
It probably is.
It's like, seems like they're just trying to save a tennis engine that they already built.
Yeah, I don't need to talk much about Mario Tennis. I have no interest in it.
Nope. Play it on the Game Boy, and that's it.
All right.
Oh, whoa, hang on. I really love the Mario Tennis series, actually, no lie. The Mario game that gave us Waluigi, you guys don't have any respect for Mario Tennis. You guys...
Says the guy who didn't like Xbox.
What? Mario Tennis started on... No, not started on the Virtual Boy, but Mario Tennis, the definitive installment was on the N64, gave us Waluigi. I really like Mario sports games. I'm not going to lie. Mario Golf is aces. Mario Tennis is aces.
I love Mario Strikers.
Toad's a playable character, which is the only important thing. So,
you got Chain Chomp. You got Boo. If you do it if you play online, you can unlock Dry Bones. Like
Rosalina, my girl.
But overall, I mean, they went into it more than they needed to.
Well,
Yeah.
It's coming out June
pretty
22nd.
soon.
Yeah, it's coming out June 22nd. So we'll see. But Tom, I was trying to move it along so you could talk about the next game that they announced.
Yeah.
Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker.
Game of the year. It's gonna be the best.
You already said that.
It's gonna be. There's gonna be 2, and then Captain Toad will also be the game of the year next year.
Oh man.
Yeah, July 13th. They might as well just cancel Octopus Traveler because July 13th is only going to matter for one reason, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which is going to have Super Mario Odyssey style levels, and
New Donk City.
Yep, and day and date a 3DS version. So I will own 3 versions of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker come July 13th. It's Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is Treasure Tractor. Kevin Toad, Captain Toad, Kevin Toad Treasure Tractor is
Kevin Toad
Treasure Tractor is the greatest Mario game that's ever been made because it stars the best Mario character, Kevin Toad.
Beautiful.
I saw that.
I'm having a stroke here. Can we move on? Not what were you gonna say?
No, I as soon as I saw it be announced, I was like, oh my god, Tom's gonna lose his shit right now.
I did. Happiness returned to my life. He's gonna go.
Anytime he thinks of it, he can't even say it properly.
He's gonna go on adventures, and he's gonna find treasure, and he's gonna find friendship, and that's just great. That's great. What does Mario seek? Like, what is he after? Exactly. You can't even
His
tell
hat.
me.
He's after his hat right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. That put me to sleep. I'm sorry.
I know, but yeah, it's one of those things though. It's like, oh, it's a remake that they're re-releasing, but they got New Donk City.
I will say this. When Captain Toad Treasure Tracker came out on the Wii U, it was only $40 because they knew it was kind of a lightweight game, and they didn't charge us full price for it. If Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, if Kevin Toad Treasure Tractor costs any more than $40 when it comes out on the Switch on July 13th, I will actually be pretty pissed off about that because that's price gouging at its worst.
Yeah. Next game that came out, I was a little excited for. I was really excited for, but Undertale coming to the Switch. One more reason not to play games on the PC.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian, but yeah, I actually bought Undertale on Steam a couple months ago, and I was like, all right, I'm finally gonna get around to this. And now that it's coming out on the Switch, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna wait. I'll spend money again just to not have to like always boot up my PC to play this. Like, come on.
Yeah. Andrew, have you play Undertale at all?
No.
It is a wonderful, wonderful RPG / adventure-ish game. 3 different ways to play the game. You don't find that out until the end of the game, which is awesome. But
Well, spoilers.
No, it's. I'm not spoiling anything in the game because there's a really nice twist towards the end that it gets you, and you're like, oh no, like. But
Okay.
it's really good.
I'll have to buy that for the PC then.
Don't do that to yourself. Listen. We've discussed this in the past. There's no reason to get games on the PC anymore. Every good game that comes to the PC comes out to the consoles where it's much better anyway.
I feel a little dirty doing this without Brian here.
No, as I said, we already discussed this in the past. It's much better to play games on consoles than it is PC.
I mean, I'm not. It's not. That's not untrue, but.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, Crash Bandicoot's coming to the Nintendo Switch on July 10th.
Oh my
What a coup! I mean, I know there've been Crash games on other consoles in the past, but like, you're back there 20 minutes ago talking about how like Crash was a defining game on the PlayStation, and like now it's coming crawling onto the Switch because they know that's where a lot of money is really going right now.
Well, on July 10th, it's coming to Xbox One, Switch, and Steam.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet! So I can get it for the PC.
Yeah, but
Sadly, yes.
who announced it in a company press event? Not Xbox.
That's true. That is true. No, I'm super excited. I have it on the PS4, but I'm definitely going to rebuy it for the Switch so I can take it on to go with me because those games are fantastic. The remakes to them are absolutely beautiful. I know they're in the process right now of announcing the Spyro trilogy that they're currently working on.
Good.
Can I get on a soapbox really quick?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to look like too much of a biased bleeding heart Nintendo fanboy, but like there's a couple games, not just in this direct, but in the lifespan of the Switch so far, that when they're announced, people are like, oh, well, they're ports, and they're not just ports, but they're ports of old games. And it's like, you're not wrong, but the Switch's portability is pretty appealing, and there are so many games that are coming to this where I'm like, I don't care that maybe I've played a couple of these before, and I don't care if maybe I can get these on better consoles. As long as they're good, functional ports, I am honestly more likely to start buying things on the Switch or waiting to buy things on the Switch just to take them on the go.
Mm-hmm. The problem with Nintendo is they need some type of reward system for their games.
Like achievements?
Yeah. The reason I play games on PlayStation is because I love trophies over achievements. I know Steam has their versions, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Andrew?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Nintendo needs some type of reward / achievement system. A reason to get all the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild. The reason to get all of the moons in Mario Odyssey. A reason to do a lot of things in their games. People, they want you to complete their games because you get stuff for doing it. Let me show people that I've done it.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
That's the one thing that the Switch is lacking, though, for features.
Yeah. So next game, it was Little Nightmares, come out May 18th. It's a side-scrolling spooky horror game. Looks very similar to Limbo and Inside. I mean, I'll probably play it. I think it was really cool. They showed that if you put the Pac-Man amiibo on it, your character gets a Paku Paku mask, which is like really dark and disturbing, which is really cool. But I know it's out on other consoles right now. Andrew, have you tried it at all?
I haven't physically played it, but I have watched a whole playthrough of it, and it if I'm definitely getting it for the Switch one because it's just not only just a side scroller, but it's a little bit more to it, and it's a little grim, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. The next game they announced kind of took me by surprise for a little bit when they announced it during their conference, but South Park Fractured But Whole's coming to the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think when you saw that?
I was also surprised. I guess Nintendo. I guess I'm just kind of still really used to Nintendo being like all squeaky clean and all that. So the fact that South Park not only is coming to it, but it was like proudly announced and the direct, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, cool. Like they're bringing this over.
It's coming out the same day that all the DLCs are coming out too. Or a couple of them.
I think it'd be cool if they could have also gotten Stick of Truth. I mean, never say never. Maybe it's coming, but when they announced that, I was like, oh, why not some kind of like double pack or something? I don't know.
Well, they're doing the double pack right now for the Xbox One and the PS4 version of it. So
Right.
maybe it might be included with it. We don't know yet. Well, I mean, we'll see on April 24th when that comes out. So still, it's shocking though, because like you said, like an M-rated game for Nintendo is like very few and far between back in the past, and now all of a sudden we're getting all of these like heavy games. Like, all right.
Yeah, and Tom, you said that they should be proud. They sounded proud, bringing it up, and they should be proud. One, they're bringing other games that aren't Nintendo. Like you said earlier, it's just that it's such a great step for the Nintendo Switch one instantly. So,
Yeah. Yep.
Did you guys play Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U?
In GameStop.
Nope.
Are you guys going to play Hyrule Warriors for the Switch?
I legit might get it. Same thing with Captain Toad. I mean, if they cut like $10 off of it, I think I'll be eager to pick it up. And that's like 2 months from now. That's pretty close. Have you played it, Josh?
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
I have not played it. I don't like the Dynasty Warrior games, so this didn't have any appeal to me. I do like that it's both games put together. So it's the 3DS and the Wii U version of the game put together, which by all means cool. If it comes out and it hits sale for like $30 or something like that, I might pick it up. But $60 game, I have no interest in that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna have to pick it up. It has my wife's name written all over it. She loved Dynasty Warriors, and she likes Legend of Zelda, and it's just the perfect pie for her right there. So I'll probably be picking it up for her, and I won't be able to play it.
You are a keeper. Just remember that.
I don't think I ever said that, Dirt. No.
Welcome to the marriage podcast.
Where we talk about how crappy I am as a husband.
So, speaking about being crappy husbands, do you guys gonna join the Arms Open challenge?
Only open to crappy husbands.
Yes.
Being a crappy husband, I actually had to sell my Arms game. I needed to buy a new game.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah. They talked about the Arms Open. I had no interest. I tried Arms. I was like, I don't care about it. I have no interest in continuing playing that down. You guys good if we stop that?
I haven't played it yet, so whatever.
Okay.
Skip it.
Then Splatoon 2, which they still missed out on calling it Splatoon. But anyway, version 3.
I'm glad they did it.
Splatoon 2 version 3.0 comes out late August. It's going to have 100 plus gear items, 3 new stages, and a rank X, which I have no idea what any of that means.
So basically, the ranking system in the game goes all the way up to S or S plus. So if you're playing competitively, that's the current highest you can get. And I think what they're implying is that rank X will be the new elite in the game. So they're just giving players a higher cap to get up to for the super, super skilled players to play in, so they can be grouped together and not be blowing everybody away as easily.
Okay. Then they had the Octo expansion, which is going to be like a new story-driven.
It's interesting because most of Splatoon's DLC has always been free. So this is the first paid DLC they've ever done for the game. And they're letting you... they're turning the formerly NPC enemy characters into a playable class within the Splatoon game, because within the Splatoon lore there's the Inklings and the Octolings, and the Octolings were always the bad guys, but now we're getting characters that you can play as who are Octolings. So it's kind of cool in terms of, like, you can divvy up your play character experience,
Yeah, and it's going to bring more of the lore to Splatoon in there, which I didn't know that there was a lot of lore to that franchise. So
there's a bunch of it. There's like an entire fabricated backstory for how humanity evolved into human squid hybrids and things like that. It's like, it's a ridiculously... They put a lot of work into a game that's just, skateboard kids throwing paint at each other,
Mm-hmm. What did you think about the last trailer for the Splatoon characters?
Oh, you mean the trailer for the Game of the Year, Super Smash Brothers?
So it's your third game of the year there, huh?
Yeah. See, so it's gonna be Sushi Sergeant. It's gonna be Game of the Year 2018, and then it's gonna be Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, tied for 2018, but also the Game of the Year for 2019, and then Super Smash Brothers is gonna be Game of the Year for like the next 5 years. It's Game of the Year, Super Smash Brothers.
Now, I know with every Direct and every E3 conference and stuff like that, we keep hoping and hoping and hoping, but did you guys expect it tonight?
I wanted it, and I was beyond happy when I got it, so it was good. It was a good day.
I wanted it, but I was listening to the words of them saying, yeah, after this DLC pack for the Wii U, there's not gonna be any more Smash Brother characters or anything. I was like, oh, cool. So after I'm done playing this, it's like the N64 all over again. Wait until the GameCube before I can get old Smash Brothers in. But I was surprised. Like I said, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting it. I thought maybe it was going to be like a Pokemon like trailer for the Switch. Maybe it was going to throw that in there, but I'm more than happy that it's Smash Brothers.
Apparently, Sakurai is a part of it too.
So that's a key thing, because his involvement is kind of like the golden touch, and he always said, like, I put so much work into Wii U. It's the last game I'm going to work on. So the fact that he's participating in this. So let me ask you guys a question really quick, and it's all speculation at this point, but is this a port of 4 or is this Smash Brothers 5?
I mean, if you look at the trailer, you could see, the Splatoon characters. One, I'm happy for, but then you saw Mario kind of silhouette with a little light. Then you saw Champion Link.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Breath of the Wild Champion Link. So it's not where we're used to with him.
Right.
And apparently, when they showed like a farther out shot, it looked like it was the Breath of the Wild Zelda as well that they used. So.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't see that. That's.
So I think it's going to be Smash 5. I'm 99% sure it's going to be Smash 5. I think they've gone too far outside of the Wii U to kind of port that one over, but...
So if it is a new Smash Brothers, cross our fingers, do you think hopefully maybe Crash will be in there?
Yes. With them porting the Insane Trilogy over and being on good terms with that franchise, I have a strong feeling that Crash Bandicoot will make it in. He has the moveset that he could use. He has the spin dash. He has the cannon that shoots out the apricots. Or the Wampa fruits or whatever the hell they are. But I think he would be in there. I'm still have my fingers crossed for either Shovel Knight or Simon Belmont coming in to Smash Brothers, but a boy can dream.
I could see Shovel Knight.
Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo needs to be in the game. They need to be in the game.
Rare said, Microsoft said they have no problem like letting Nintendo use those guys. So I don't know if they might get rid of Duck Hunt and put Banjo and Kazooie in there.
Don't touch my duck hunt. Get rid of Rob.
But the craziest thing about the Smash Brothers announcement was the end of it. Coming
This
in
year.
2018, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be their big holiday release.
I think it's coming in September.
That's a little early, don't you think?
The online service comes out the end of September. What better reason to go online and play games?
I'll give
what do
you
you got?
I'll give you
You
that.
You got Mario Kart, you got Rocket League, you have Splatoon 2, games that have been out for over a year now. Like, you want to continue paying $20 to keep playing those games that you've already played and sank an entire year into, or do you want something that's going to be worth playing online?
Well, I'll give you that, but I'll ask this. I don't know if they would want to launch it that close to the debut of the online service, because what if they have to work out some kinks in the online service? You know what I mean? Like, I think it would be smarter, in my opinion, unless they're foolproofing their online service to the T right now, to be like, that launches in September, make sure nothing F's up, and then November, like Thanksgiving weekend, boom, here's Smash Brothers, you know?
Yeah. The Smash Brothers usually come out in like October, November, though, don't they? They usually like around the back to school time.
Well, that's when the Wii U version came out in the middle of November in 2014, and then Brawl came out in January '08. Josh, because remember you and I waited in line to get it.
We waited in line. We did the tournament. We didn't win. We went back to your place and beat the Subspace Emissary in one sitting. But I don't know. I'm really excited. At least it's coming soon. We actually have some type of a ballpark of when it's coming out. So, thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to see that we don't have to wait till the following year to get it. I mean, if they have to prolong it, I'm fine with it. I'd rather have a complete game.
At least we know it's coming.
Yeah, at least.
But I was a little upset because at the beginning of it, like I said, talking about the 3DS, I thought the 3DS was on its way out. There's been a lot of rumor and speculation that the last 3DS game that they're going to make is a remake of Link's Awakening. Like they did for Samus Returns. But that's apparently going to be the last game that they're going to be making for the 3DS. So we'll see how that works out. But I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Do you know what my favorite part about that last trailer was, though? The original theme song for Splatoon was in there.
Yeah.
The main theme from Splatoon 1 was on there. I was like, oh my god, I absolutely love it. So let's segue over to our top 3 this week, which is top 3 video game soundtracks.
Okay.
So, Andrew, you are the guest this week. We're going to let you go first.
You're the only person to buy 1-2 Switch. So, given that honor, you're the guest of honor.
So that is such a hard question. Even to right now, like even if you gave me that question 2 months ago, I'd still be thinking about what it would be. It's so hard to decide. Even do I want to go with like an orchestrated soundtrack from Breath of the Wild, or do I want to go back down to E.T. Like, but yeah, for sure. I think I got it narrowed down. But from 3 to 1, when I was looking at thinking about all the soundtracks that I like, I didn't want to base it off nostalgia. I didn't. I wanted to base it off, like, if you go on Pandora or iHeartRadio or something, and you throw on a video game radio station, you hear a song that pops on. Like, for me, I heard a song. I wanted to know what it was. It sounded amazing, and it was actually from Horizon Zero Dawn. Never played the game. I had no idea, but that that one song was so good that I really decided that I might want to go get that game because of that one song. So that's what I was basing it out of. But number 3, for sure, is the World of Warcraft soundtracks. Just because it sounds amazing. It enthralls you to play the game.
So
like
massive.
Every zone. Yeah, it's so massive, and there's so many songs, but every zone has its own song. which is nice. And that's what makes it great. They put so much heart into it, and it sounds amazing. It gets better and better every expansion, of course. But number 2 is going to be Shadow of the Colossus. Love that soundtrack.
I vaguely remember. I got it for the PS4, when they just did the remaster or the remake of it. Did you play it for the PS4 yet?
No.
Okay, I just didn't know if the soundtrack was the same for it. I mean, it might be different a little bit, but I'm just wondering. But everyone always says how great just all those, like Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, that company, like all their soundtracks are so well made.
Yeah.
It makes it feel more of like an adventure, but you're alone at the same time.
Yeah, even just taking down the Colossus with the different soundtracks that they're playing with it is just, it's like heart wrenching. Like, oh my god, I'm taking down this big dude right now.
Was there a different one for each Colossi?
I believe from what I haven't played it since the original, but if I remember correctly, yes, to an extent. I think a lot of it like kind of meshed together, but it meshed together well. I would say. I could be wrong, but I remember it being amazing. And even to this day, like I'll even go back like on YouTube and look up a playlist for it, and I'll listen to it.
Awesome.
There's orchestrated versions of it, and it's amazing. And of course, number 1 was probably I was tied. Because when you think of songs, when you think of music, a soundtrack of video games, what's like one of the number 1 composers you think of?
I mean,
Final Fantasy, right? Final Fantasy, Nobuo Uematsu.
I'm sorry, I don't know all those names, but yes.
Oh, no, it's fine. That's the only nerd thing I know. No.
Josh, you're not nerdy enough to be on this podcast.
I'm so sorry right now.
And like I was tied between Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy music. But to sum it down even more from Final Fantasy, I'm going to have to go with the MMO, Final Fantasy 14. Like that music in there is amazing. All the boss fights have their own separate soundtrack. All the primals you fight, they have their own amazing music. Like they have a first part of the music, then when you get to like half health, it changes drastically, and it's just that. So I would have to say Final Fantasy 14 takes the cake for me.
So you're saying like every like boss or every like mini boss or something like that has like their own theme?
Yep. So like if you like, it has a story, of course. Any major boss you fight has its own theme, and that theme has 2 parts to it, and it's amazing. So, yeah. And go ahead.
I was gonna say I think it's cool how you have a consistent adoration for big fantasy like epic scores. That like give you big ideas or big like action set pieces with really like just kind of grandiose orchestrated stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was hard like to decide if I want to stay with orchestrated or if I want to go back to the NES days.
Yeah, like the 8-bit soundtracks, 16-bit soundtracks.
8 bits, and like that was the part that I was really iffy about going with nostalgia. Like I can listen to a Pokemon song from the Game Boy and be like, oh god, there's the tear, there it is. But yeah.
Then as
yeah. Tom?
Yes.
Hopefully me and you don't have any duplicates, because we usually have the tendency to do that in this segment. I'm going to let you go before me.
Good. I hope I pick everything you wanted so that you have to pick different things. Like Andrew mentioned, I wasn't unsure if I wanted to pick a score or like a literal like curated soundtrack. I settled on scores. Not that I don't like soundtracks. I think like GTA, BioShock, lots of other great games that pull their music from licensed sources. They do some really interesting things with them. Mine are all scores, and I'm going to start with, I think it's like really cool and vital when like a game takes you across multiple levels and settles on like really good motifs. Like this isn't my number 3, but like in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, every level has like this distinct kind of style to its music that sets the mood, brings you into the world, things like that. So my number 3, it's a game that does this very well with a very limited amount of technology of the time, and that's the greatest kart racing game of all time, Diddy Kong Racing. Diddy Kong Racing soundtrack is delightful. It's very fun. whether you're on beaches, which have this very tropical vibe where they play those what are those tin drums that Michael Scott brings back from Jamaica in the one episode of The Office.
Like a steel drum?
Yeah, the steel. That's what it's called. The steel drums on the beach levels to this kind of like old world violin styles. They give the fantasy dragon theme levels. Every track in Diddy Kong Racing is like a delight. And then you get all the way up to the space levels at the end, and they have these futuristic, like fast-paced electronic beats that just take you through every level. Really, really fun, really delightful. Like it a lot. All positive adjectives. Diddy Kong Racing. So that's my number 3. Okay, number 2. I think Koji Kondo is one of the most iconic gaming composers of all time, and that's kind of a given. He's kind of like the John Williams of gaming. He's composed so many just all-time great and familiar melodies because of his work with Nintendo, and I think that the best work he's ever done is on Super Mario Galaxy. I think the soundtrack for Super Mario Galaxy is terrific. Each level has just this beautiful orchestrated feel to it that takes you on an adventure. And so many of its pieces I honestly listen to on loop just to chill out. I think the highlight of the game, though, for me, is the Comet Observatory, which is this musical piece that plays when you're in the hub area. And when you start, it's kind of slow and like dreamy and quiet. But as you get more stars and unlock more parts of the hub world, it picks up and it gets more and more layered in terms of its composition. And it's basically like this, like it's a waltz and a lullaby together. And when you bring the whole version out at the end, when you have all your stars, it's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous piece of music. And I have to correct myself real quick. It is not just Koji Kondo who did the work for Super Mario Galaxy. It's also Mahito. Hold on. I am a sloppy white American trying to pronounce foreign names. It is Mahito Yokota. Mahito Yokota was the co-composer on Super Mario Galaxy. So props to both of you. You did terrific work.
So what I've played of Mario Galaxy, I couldn't play much of it because the whole running around the world and stuff like that made me dizzy, which is a weird callback to the motion sickness that I had.
Very serious, very serious. Not fun at all.
That score in that game, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yep, agreed.
I realized I didn't give any breathing room. Did you guys want to talk about Diddy Kong Racing? Did you guys want to, Josh?
No, for me, you hit it.
No.
You hit it right.
No, I have nothing to say.
Nothing. Okay. I just wanted to see if you wanted to chime in. All right. All right. So, settling it down, it's kind of a culmination of everything I've been talking about, motifs and just beautiful compositions and things that are distinct to every level, but all come together and form a complete soundtrack. And that's Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is the best video game score soundtrack of all time. It's gorgeous from the opening. No matter what era of time you go back into, there's some kind of piece that sells the mood. I really like when you go to the future, the dystopian future, and it's just this low, depressing, eerie kind of almost silence, but the music's there, and it sells like, oh, you're in hell. What happened here? And then you go back to the prehistoric era, and you have the tribal music, which I first heard in a meme all the way back on YTMND. It was the did it, like, it's so good. Every piece of music in the game is just great. Love it. Good.
Yeah,
Perfect. It's perfect.
That's when it comes to like the 16-bit generation, like that was like it's so hard to find music that in a game so huge that every area that you're in has a distinct sound, and you know, like, oh, this is from the future, this is from this is from when you're back in the time area. Like every piece of music in that song, from even just going to the festival at the beginning of the game, like it's all so catchy, and it's all like, you know, like where you're at, and like it fits the setting so perfectly.
Yeah, has my good old boy Nobuo Uematsu, man. Even though he only did 10 tracks, but he's still in there, baby.
Well, it's not just his co-composer on that game was Yasunori Mitsuda, who was also a composer for this really great party game series called Mario Party. He did some, did some great work there. Yeah, so just wanted to share that.
So Josh,
So when we were talking about what we want to do for our top 3, this probably was the hardest top 3 to come up with, because I'm still sitting with 5 of them right now that that just have sat with me for a really long time. And I'm going to give a shout out, and then I'm going to do an honorable mention, and then I'm going to do my top 3. So the first 2 are going to be really quick ones. Shout out to Super Metroid for a 16-bit game that hits the point across that you are alone in space and on that planet is like the perfect 16-bit sci-fi horror score ever. Like,
agreed.
That's it. Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Fantastic soundtrack. Every town that you're on, every route that you're on, completely different soundtrack to a different song. Still sits with me to this day. Just the sound design in that game. It's, going to the Poke Center and the doon 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 doon.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like everything just sits with you, and that all that stuff is carried over into the previous, into the next, generations of games there. But coming down to my top 3. Number 3 on my list, and you're going to see like a nice little common thing with all of these here. Number 3 on my list, Earthbound. Great soundtrack from beginning to end. Soundtrack for a different type of RPG game. So it was a modern style RPG. Like, it was set in the modern day, unlike Chrono Trigger, which was set across so many different timelines, which, like Final Fantasy, which usually dealt with in the past until they got up to 7, where they started to go a little bit into the future. It had a very jazzy sound to it, which was amazing. You had a lot of like Johnny Be Good for like it was like a 16-bit version of Johnny Be Good for one of the boss battles in the game, but there's some notable tracks on there, like Smiles and Tears, New Age Retro Hippie, which is the one that sounds like very, very similar to Johnny Be Good. Home Sweet Home, Onett Village, like those songs, like if you just listen to any song on the Earthbound soundtrack, like it just makes you so much more calm, relaxed, or like makes you just happy overall. And the part of that game is being happy, and it was a big thing of not being alone anymore, and having that game and that soundtrack, it meant so much more to the characters in the game. And then as you're playing it, you're like, I'm not like upset about anything that's going on, like I'm really happy all the time. So like it just really got its point across. Have you guys played Earthbound at all?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. In that it does. It's interesting that you went a Super Nintendo title, a Pokemon title, and then Earthbound, which has this unique vibe of like you said, using the Super Nintendo technology to produce melodies. And then I liked Earthbound. I played it years later after playing Pokemon, but like I like that it had that same kind of vibe where you go to each town in a numbered order, and like all the towns even have numbered puns in their name, and they all have their distinct gimmicks, just like you guys were talking about, like, oh, you go to Lavender Town and you know exactly what kind of music you're gonna get out of that. Sorrowful, creepy, downtown. Right. Like you walk into On It and it's upbeat, starting a new adventure kind of journey music. So I really enjoyed Earthbound soundtrack. Very fun, very enjoyable.
Number 2 on my list is a modern game, and composer Jake Kaufman made one of the greatest soundtracks for a game that I can remember of modern day, and that's the soundtrack to Shovel Knight.
Of course.
Every level of the Order of No Quarter bosses fits every character. So from Propeller Knight, the soundtrack makes it seem like you're in the skies. Mole Knight makes you feel like you're underground. Tinker Knight, he's a guy who he's one of the knights that like works on building machines and stuff like that. The soundtrack to that level is very mechanical and stuff, and it's all using this in a 16-bit version. Plague Knight is kind of a like chemist, so like all of his stuff is like very scientific-y, like the sound to it. Spectre Knight, it's like the entire level takes place in like a graveyard, so it's a very dark and grimy like soundtrack to that. Polar Knight is in the Arctic, so everything's kind of like, it just has like a weird like northern sound to it, like a more like a Viking sound to its to its level design. But every single level in that game like just makes it feel like you are on a quest to just beat the shit out of the boss at the end of the game. And like every boss has its own song, which kind of is a remixed version of the level soundtrack, so it's awesome. So it's like, oh, you know this, but then like it starts to pick up, so like you know that you're at the end. Like it's so good. And just, oh god, every time I know, like I have the soundtrack on my phone, I have the soundtrack on CD in my car, like I'll listen to them, like okay, I know exactly where I'm at in the game, because I've played the game so long. But even just like the loading times, like when you're like at campfires, like it's so calm and settling and stuff. It's just so good. But if you have not played Shovel Knight yet, I highly recommend it. And just sit down and just listen to the soundtrack, or pay attention to the soundtrack as you're playing through. Strike the Earth, which is the first level's soundtrack, is one of the best opening level soundtracks like ever. It's just so like you just like throw your fists in the air, like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck shit up right now. Like it's so good.
I'm gonna bury a bunch of people.
Andrew, did you play Shovel Knight?
I didn't play Shovel Knight, the first one. I bought Spectre or whatever it is.
Okay, Spectre Torment. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I just, when I played that game, I forgot how crap I am at platformers.
But number one on my list is a game that I think pushed a console, and for coming out when it did, like it came out in the middle of the console's time frame, but I think it pushed the console sound wise to limits that we haven't seen for a really long time. And it came up with some of the most memorable themes ever, and that's the soundtrack to Link to the Past.
Okay.
Soundtrack that came out in 1992. So that's 26 years old. And those songs are still being replicated now. Now, the original Legend of Zelda had, 3 different songs overall. But with this one, it gave, just going off and starting like in the dark, stormy night, and it's like the like you felt like there was like something wrong in the world, and you go into the dungeon and you have the dungeon music for the first time that we get to know a lot now, especially with a lot of the top-down Zeldas. But you rescue Princess Zelda, and you go through and you get her out there, and then you take a step out into the real world, and then it's the overturn, like it's the adventure Legend of Zelda music, and it's took what was great when the NES, but just made it so much more, and it just packs so much into that system there. It gave you the song for the fairy fountains for the first time. It gave you the song for opening up treasure chest. It's yeah, you didn't get that, without this game. And I think it has one of the best renditions of the actual main theme of The Legend of Zelda. That's something that I have this CD or this soundtrack so many times that I can't not get enough of it, because I think it's a near perfect soundtrack in any video.
I'm surprised
game.
You didn't go with Breath of the Wild. That's.
I really wanted to. Just because of the, traveling up to the castle at the end there. I'm like, oh my god, it's just so perfect of a sound. But I needed something that stuck with me for a really long time, and it actually had like a lasting impression. Like that was.
Oh, you should have gone with Ocarina of Time then.
No. Yeah, memorable songs, but not as good as others.
When I was going through that list, Devil May Cry popped in my head.
Mm.
When you have the Devil May Cry music playing, you're fighting like a boss guy. You're just like, oh my god, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do some juggling right now.
No, and I talked about on the first episode that we ever did about Castlevania's theme. Amazing song. That's the thing. Like, there's so many great themes, but to try to find an entire soundtrack to a game was like the hardest part. Because, like, yeah, Tom, you talked about Sonic 2. Sonic 2 had some amazing songs, but not the entire game was amazing. Like, if we talked about like compilation soundtracks, Vice City would probably be my favorite when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it doesn't stick with me the way that Link to the Past did.
Or all Guitar Hero ever.
Right.
I just figured that you would just cheat and just say, like, yeah, the entire Rock Band compilation.
No, but like, if you guys play Undertale, the entire soundtrack to Undertale is like, that was almost on my list.
I know.
It's so good.
Dog Song and Megalovania off of that soundtrack, I've heard very good covers of them. I think those are great pieces of music. I'm looking forward to actually when I start Undertale being able to dive into that soundtrack.
But narrowing it down to 3 was probably like if we did like a top 10 list, maybe, but trying to put them in order, that would be like next to impossible.
So can I ask a question real quick? So
yeah,
Andrew, you had World of Warcraft, Shadow of the Colossus, Final Fantasy 14. Josh, you had Link to the Past, and you had Earthbound, and you had Derp.
Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight. So
how'd you forget that one?
yeah, of course, the one that Josh would have. So here's the thing: we actually all did pick scores overall. So what I want to ask is, Andrew, I would hope that you would be a future guest of the podcast if you're interested, but I'm going to throw this down because we've thrown down top list pitches before. Do you want to do soundtracks, licensed soundtracks, next time you're on the show?
Oh, man.
Okay, fine. Josh, next podcast without Andrew, do you want to do licensed?
I think that'd be good because there's so much. There's so many.
I mean, we're talking about them now, so like...
I know. Well, yeah. I know. I know exactly what my number 1 would be, but... Kind of did a spoiler alert of that one. Or did I?
Tell me.
I'm wondering if you spoiled it on a previous episode. I don't know, maybe.
No.
Okay, never mind.
I just talked about Vice City. But I mean, there's so much out there. Even just like the top songs. Top songs are so hard because there's so many that stick with you, or like the one day I was sitting in the car with Becca and I was just like, do, 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 do. And I was like, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I think I'm singing the oh no, I was going do 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 do, and she's like, what is that? I'm like, that's the theme to Paperboy, and I don't know why I'm singing that, but it just stuck with me. And it's so weird. Like, I mean, I know every time I'm climbing up really high ladders, I start hearing Snake Eater, and I've got climbing up for like 5 hours, and I'm like, well, at least I got this song to listen to. Andrew, thank you for being on this week's episode of the 3 to Play Games podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It was a lot of fun talking to you.
Yeah,
it was a delight.
Hopefully you come back for another episode in the near future.
That's your choice.
Andrew, do you have any social media handles you're comfortable letting us broadcast?
I mean, the only one I have is my actual Facebook. All right,
find Andrew on Facebook and ask him to be your friend.
He usually comments on our stuff, so if you can't find him, find him on our stuff.
You can find me there. Oh, man.
You're about to make the hundreds of new friends.
Oh, boy. Bring it, baby.
So that's all for this week. Thanks for listening. You can find 3 to Play Games on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review and tell us what you think of the show. You can also join in the discussion by sharing your own top list and confessions. And most importantly, you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop. And until our next episode, this has been...
Tom.
And Drew.
And Josh.
And remember to join the adventures of Kevin Toad Treasure Tractor.
Only on the Nintendo 3DS.